Hi everybody, so at the moment we're getting into sort of mid-September at Koi Wholesale. Busy time of year as we're preparing for the autumn harvest. We've got all the ponds here to start thinking about getting out, getting the fish prepped and ready for sale. Today we're doing a pond from one of my favourite breeders, Taniguchi Koi Farm, based in Fukuyama in Hiroshima. This place is just phenomenal. Every time I visit there, drives me crazy. The quality of the fish, the availability of them, I'm just like a kid in a sweet shop, completely get out of control. I shipped these fish in on the 9th of April. They're actually in the pond back there, that's where they started, that's where they've been ever since. I think there was around 210 pieces of Gosanke and Goshiki went into there, along with some of his new golden corn, which is a very impressive and weird variety. Throughout the summer the pond's been quite heavily stocked, which has been an issue. It did slow down the growth. I think overall we had about 300 fish in what is 1,250 gallon pond, so growth rate was impressive. It's a fantastic lineage that he's got, but it was hampered by the amount of fish in there. So it was about maybe 5-6 weeks ago now that we actually netted everything up, separated the Gosanke from the golden corn. The golden corn actually went into the pond next to us. They've been thriving ever since, and we have had a big sort of surge in growth rates then. So yeah, we just netted the pond up. We're going to take a quick look. I've got to do a quick grading, select out some of the best pieces, which will probably stay inside and heated pond for a while, and then the rest are actually going to be prepared for sale. So we're going to start that now and we'll take a closer look. So when these first arrived, they were about 15 to 18 cm on average. Growth's been pretty phenomenal given the size of the pond and how heavily they've been stocked, to be honest with you. So what we're going to do here with what we've got, one bowl we're going to place the fish that are going to be released for sale, and then in the other bowl are going to be the fish that are going to be kept for a little bit longer. Then at the end we'll take a closer look at some of the better ones. So this bowl on the left is the fish that are going to be released for sale quite soon.
So what decisions are you making to decide which bucket they go in?
This side we've got the fish for sale that will be released for sale, and these are released for sale at a later date. There's just going to be a little bit more time spent raising them a little bit further.
So is it mostly a size thing then?
No, we're looking at body shape, skin quality, pattern, and its future potential. It's been one of the biggest. It's always looked like being one of the strongest fish, coming out at 35 centimetre at the minute. Absolutely superb skin quality there. It's excellent fish.
So for the ones that aren't quite cutting it, how much is there that you can do to improve them?
It's not that with those in particular, space is always a priority in this business in general. So it's not that those fish in there are low quality. They're certainly not. They're from a fantastic bloodline. The quality is exceptional. Just that with space being limited, only the very best can be given the conditions to improve further. So
in some ways it's about prioritising the best ones that you've got,
the very best,
in the
yeah,
ideal conditions.
That's it.
Which obviously
it costs raising them, especially this time of year now, going into autumn and winter. We're paying for heating, so you know the costs increase. We're using exceptionally good food. All of these have been raised with on sake akari, so we've not skimped there at all. All these factors taken into consideration. There's a huge amount of cost, so like I say, this space has got to be given to the very best fish.
Have you had any surprises of sort of ones that you had your eye on from early on, or ones that didn't catch your eye but have turned into something special?
Yeah, the whole batch of fish, to be honest with you,
the quality, like I say, of his lineage. It's why I like this breeder so much. That the general quality across the board is incredibly high. So.
And which breed is this?
Taniguchi.
Is this your main breeder? One of several?
No, he's one that we, one of several, but certainly one of my favourites.
So what you might have noticed already is that the water in the pond, and in this bowl in particular that's coming from the pond, has got quite a strong green colour to it. Green water, it's a debate whether it's right, wrong, good, indifferent. For me personally, if it's something, and I understand from a hobbyist perspective, you want to see your fish, but from a rearing perspective, green water is absolutely phenomenal. Once you've got the algae growing, there's the spirulina in there, which is good for the skin. The turbidity in the water, just protecting the skin from the full extent of the sunlight, as opposed to crystal clear water, actually keeps the red colour of the benny in a lot better condition. Really intense direct sunlight can tend to damage it, so you've got to be careful with that. Generally, you can see the fish are coming out absolutely shining. Combination of the water quality combined with the food, and for me the added element of the green water that these have been kept in for some time, makes a huge difference. It's really the finer details. You can really see the shine on the skin across the board here is pretty impressive when they break the water. Especially that, I mean, that's just phenomenal skin quality. So it has a huge impact. Certainly if it's even just for a period of time throughout the sort of peak of the summer when the sunlight's at its strongest, it's something that's well worthwhile if you can tolerate obviously not seeing your fish properly. It's only really going to be at feeding time, and you're obviously confident in the stability of the environment. If you're not, and you feel like you're not able to observe the fish for the small time they're at the surface feeding, it's certainly better to keep it clear. But yeah, results are superb. So there's a fish in here I've had my eye on for a while. This one here, I think, would be a really strong UK Koi Show contender, particularly for baby champion. It's developing a really powerful frame at a young age. Not necessarily a fish that's going to be great for growing big, but it's got all the attributes at the minute. We are going to take a closer look at this in a while, but sat at 30 cm now, so I think if I'm right, baby champion's up to sort of like 35 cm. A little bit more raising on that. It's going to be a very promising fish.
What's the size range for baby champion?
I think it's from the BKKS size, I think it's up to size 2, which is up to about 35 centimetres.
Okay. And is there any age?
No age.
Category on that?
No age, just the size. Got another one here. Again, we'll just look at the benny quality on this. Absolutely incredible. You can actually notice if it comes through on the camera, there's a bit of what you would say is ginnering in those scales. That's actually probably it's the cells within the skin, so it's like a concentration of luster. I don't expect that to be there as this fish gets bigger, but it's just the skin is just going to keep getting better and better. It's a phenomenal fish.
So this might get cut, but seeing as it's my first day, remind me what benny is.
Oh, sorry, yeah, benny's the red on the fish. Goes by a few names, he, benny. The actual word in Japanese for red is aka. So you do hear that across some varieties like akamatsuba, for example, but across the Gosanke, he and benny are used. They're not actually direct translations to red, but that's the terminology. Wow, it's a pretty awesome piece. Clearly been eating all the pies. 36 cm, so that's the biggest one yet. At first glance, looks absolutely excellent.
Take a bit out. Cheers, mate. I think it's worth noting here, especially with this bowl of fish, this is pretty common. You get a very mixed result, sort of size-wise. It's very competitive in a mixed pond. You're always going to get the fish that sort of push on and exceed the others. Problem is there that the bigger ones, normally bigger for a reason, it's because they dominate at feeding time. So as we do go through the season, normally really small fish will be taken away out of the environment because they're always going to sort of suffer. With these two, especially that one, it got left behind because the quality was just looking really nice, so we wanted just to give it the best chance. It's grown more, but you can see others have just outstripped it.
What sort of size could a hobbyist expect these to grow to?
Taniguchi fish are easily capable of growing way in excess of 80 centimetres quite easily, so that's what you get from the bloodline. Taniguchi is excellent with parent fish overall. I think the way he picks them, what he chooses and invests in are excellent fish, so yeah, that passes down to the offspring, and it's all part of the value that's retained in the fish.
To the average sort of UK koi owner, how well known is this brand?
Yeah, he's growing in popularity. The fish aren't easily accessible. He's very popular in Japan, so they get snapped up quickly. He's been around in the UK for a good while. I'll just say it's generally availability that slows it down.
So certainly more well known in Japan, and then
Yeah.
UK's kind of the newer.
I'd probably say outside of Japan he's possibly more popular. So what I've just done for this part of the video, I brought in Steve, who's our marketing manager here at Koi Wholesale. Thought it'd be quite handy. He's not quite there yet as a Koi pro, learning a lot, but I thought it'd be quite handy to maybe ask some questions that you guys might also be wanting to ask from a more sort of beginner's perspective. In front of us now, I've got the best 19 fish from the pond. I'm absolutely over the moon with the result overall. Like I say, these were raised from 15 to 18 centimetres. The pond, I think it's probably worth talking about the pond that they've been raised in. Now that's just a 1,500 gallon pond in there. The filtration consists of a single bottom drain, which is fed to a brush chamber, and then a fluidized bed which holds 300 litres of K1. That returns with a 6,000 litre an hour pump through a UV back into the pond via one of our spray bars. It's a very, very simple system. Now it's important to bear in mind that yes, the water has been warm all summer. It's a crucial part of raising them. We've had temperatures between 25 and up to 29 degrees during the heat wave, which is not ideal, but generally yes, the water has been warm. It is important, but just to highlight, it's a very simple system. There's nothing particularly expensive being used to get these results. Bloodline playing a massive part in what we're seeing here. The regime is a big part of it. Feeding regime is crucial. That's the real difference between growing a fish with length, but then growing a fish that gets good length and good body volume at the same time. Colour development all comes down to the food in these cases as well. The food of choice I've used for these, it was sake hikari. Beginning of this year, that's the decision that I made to go back to using that exclusively across all of my growing ponds. I just wasn't happy with some of the changes to my previous food supplier from last year. At the same time, I was just looking for ways that I could push the results harder for this season. Sake hikari is a product that, to be honest, I've had a love affair with for a long time. Used it years back. There's been a big gap in between where I've gone away from it because it was quite tough with the price rises that were coming in. At times it was hard to justify. But yeah, a change I'm happy that I made this season, and the results in front sort of speak for themselves really. Like I said, Taniguchi, a farm I adore, primarily Kohaku and Sanki, doing well with his showa now. Got the golden corn, his Goshiki are particularly ones to note as well. But yeah, the quality's here for all to see. So these 19 fish are going to go into a different pond now, probably be raised a little bit more, probably till around December time, at which point they'll give them a resting period, rather than growing them, we'll be looking to just condition, improve the coloration and the overall skin, work on the shiroji a bit, ready for next season. So yeah, I'd probably just like to take a look at a couple of the real star pieces in here to discuss. Alex just asked me before what the best fish in here was. There's two that I'd probably go to here overall. This Kohaku is absolutely out of this world.
What's the standout on this fish for you?
You can see, I mean, just straight away, biggest fish in there. The body size is phenomenal. I think that's the one we checked out earlier. It's hitting 35 cm, we'll call it. Superb piece, really powerful body frame from the head right down to, got a nice strong peduncle. See at the back end. The benny quality and the overall skin quality, you can see the shiroji is really nice. All these flashy areas that look like bits of gin are just concentration of cells, which are eventually going to be, part of the skin luster. On top of the body, like I say, the skin quality, shiroji is lovely. Benny's still really soft. Without checking, I suspect this is probably going to be a female fish.
How would you tell the difference between male and female?
The females tend to develop a much softer colour, which is normal. This, again, I'm not checking, but just as a reference, this kind of more intense coloration from this one, more than likely going to be a male fish. I can probably see from the way the body's set, that's more likely to be the case. The softer colour does tend to come more often with the females. Just a great fish. Then just to sort of top off the skin, we've got this amazing pattern. Really lovely flow from the head, nice simple two-step, nice odame, the white stop at the tail there. Part of the skin as well that's really impressive. You can really see down this side here the kiwa, where the red scale meets the white.
Is that so? The edge where they join, that's called the kiwa.
The edge, yeah, that's it. Really important part. This is actually Marizome kiwa, where you can see we've got the scallop where it fills the scale, the shape of the scale. Looks absolutely superb. You can see it consistently throughout the fish, which is great to see. Another real key point I look for is the sashi. Sashi is the front edge, so where here we can see where red goes to white. There's a really nice soft border across the whole fish. You can see here every piece there. What I really like about this is you can see that's almost the same depth and consistency throughout the whole fish. That's really important because this sash is going to refine as the fish grows and the benny pulls tighter when it's consistent across the body like that.
So the sashi will form a sharper edge to it as it develops.
That's it. As the fish gets bigger, the benny pulls in and contracts more. It's really going to come together. So it's a really good fish. I can't wait to get some more size onto that. But absolutely delighted to have such a result.
So that's one we'll keep an eye on over the coming months.
Absolutely. The second fish to note, and this I think is going to be a really interesting one. This Sanki, I wouldn't say second choice, they're a joint sort of first for my best fish in here, to be honest with you. Now, I think you're probably safe to call this a Marmite fish, and one that a lot won't understand. Taniguchi, this style of Sanki seems to be becoming quite prominent with him. Now, the bit that probably is going to throw people out, looking at that thinking it's got too much sumi, possibly even thinking it's more showa than Sanki.
So sumi being the
black. There's also a misconception that as this grows there'll probably be too much black, it'll get too dark. None of that is the case with this fish. What this style of Sanki seems to do from Taniguchi is hold the sumi and basically as the rest of the fish grows, the sumi pulls into position, but it actually then becomes smaller on the body, if that makes sense.
So as a percentage of the overall skin as the fish grows bigger?
Yeah, that's it. At the minute, obviously, it seems to be quite heavy. The blocks are quite big, albeit they're very refined. You can see here the sumi kiwa is exceptional. The sumi sash is doing really well. I mean, that there on the head's just superb. So yeah, this fish with more size, the sumi is just basically going to hold in position, and yeah, its overall percentage coverage will probably be less on the bigger fish than it is now at the fish it's at. That's the bit I think a lot of people will miss, and probably why they'd overlook a fish like that. But you can just see the qualities. Body line superb, lovely head on it, nice odome again. The benny quality, if you can get that on the camera, we see the thick red line within the scale there. That's where all the pigment cells are actually concentrated. So this has already got lovely, nice colour, it's quite soft, but that thick red line is the concentration of red cells in that scale. Now what happens is, as the fish is growing, those scales, that pigment disperses into each side of the scale. So the colour, it basically keeps layering up, getting thicker and thicker over time. So in another 2 to 3 years, the intensity of that ben is going to be even more, the thickness is going to be even more, it's just going to completely transform. So again, just on them qualities, you can see that the white skin's really nice. The sumi is excellent, ben is lovely. When we're looking at sashi and kiwa, I think a lot of people tend to overlook the sashi and kiwa of sumi. That's also really important. It's a prime example of really high quality stuff on this fish. It's great. Can't wait to see that fish in another few months and another couple of years, to be honest with you. So another fish I'd probably like to look at, just to sort of dispel a few myths. Now, probably looking at this and seeing the metallic in the scale, thinking that's actually a Ginrin Sankey. That's really not the case with this fish. Obviously, it's still young. It's only 17 months old at the minute. Now, what tends to happen in a lot of high quality fish, you'll get this appear in the scales, and what it tends to be is a concentration of the cells within the scale, which eventually becomes the skin luster of the fish. So I would say by the time this fish sort of hits 55, getting on for 60 centimetres, you're not going to see a lot of that anymore. It's just going to be the overall gloss and shine on the skin, and then as it gets bigger and bigger, you'll get to the point where none of them will be visible anymore. Again, it's another excellent piece, lots and lots of qualities. I think that's just worth looking at, because if it was Ginrin, you'd expect it to be really consistent throughout the whole body, which it isn't. So yeah, you're looking at quality in its infancy there, really.
Do you get any Ginrin where it is in patches, or is it generally?
Yeah, you'll
across the whole
find that
fish?
low quality Ginrin. Obviously, you won't get consistently throughout the fish, but yeah, in that case, that's not Ginrin. It's just quality. That's you're not going to see that eventually.
Yeah, it's still developing.
Yeah, definitely. Another fit, this is one I've had my eye on from the moment it arrived. Now, this I do firmly believe could be a great contender for UK koi shows. Certainly for the baby champion and sort of smaller size ranges. This is not a fish, this will achieve nice 55, 60, maybe beyond that quite easily. It's not a fish that you'd be able to push to maybe 75 or 80 cm. Because the body at the minute is just a little bit slightly too short and too powerful when you compare it to the body line of, say, this kohaku. A little bit more length to that body.
So if you're looking for something that could potentially be baby champion, what is it that you're looking for?
It's important, you need to obviously get a lot of the elements more finished for the size that it's at. Now that's quite difficult. There's only a few fish that will be sort of ready at an early age for something like that. So this one, I'm seeing it, I mean, the qualities are there for all to be seen. Fantastic kiwa that can tighten a bit. The sash is not too deep, so I believe another, I think we're at, let's have a look. So 29 and a half centimetre on that one at the minute. So aiming that up to sort of like 35 cm for it to compete. I just think it's going to be an absolute winner. The sashi can be refined a bit more by then, balance of the pattern is excellent. Yeah, from the minute I saw it, it screamed koi show to me. In the right conditions, it needs to work on the shiroji, but that's easily done.
What's needing to develop there?
The white skin, just pull it up. They've been fed on quite a lot of colour food, which can tint that. But
So if it's got a slightly yellow tint to it, that can drop back to white over time.
yeah, completely. Just a conditioning thing. So really prominent piece, and yeah, I think it's one that would love to see a show that next season in the right hands. I think you could be onto a winner there. Last fish I want to take a look at and one to follow. This is quite an interesting one. Sorry, this Sankey. Now this it's a type of sumi I want to look at here, because if I show you these two fish, with this one here we can see sumi sat underneath the skin in the bluey kind of texture. Now that's looking the bluey grey because that's sat underneath the skin as it stands, and it's going to come up. It comes up from deep in the skin up to the top, and then starts to form like this, where it gets shinier and glossier. That type of sumi does create, very high level. It's a lot more predictable, this sort of sumi. We can see where it is, where it's coming. It's just a matter of time to get that sumi up and finished. Now this one showing a different type of sumi, which I tend to call it, sort of Larry sumi. This sumi materializes in the top of the skin and sort of works its way downwards to form the thickness. How it appears is very randomly. So what will happen is all of a sudden you'll have an area where that's been at some point completely white, and all of a sudden we get some spots of sumi appear. Now what these two spots will eventually do is probably be gathered by other spots of sumi. You can see another one starting here just behind the gill. Eventually the spots will keep coming. We see it happening here, look, there. They'll keep coming until they actually form into the blocks of sumi that we see here.
So what sort of timescales are you thinking that will develop over?
Yeah, now that's the interesting thing. This kind of sumi actually tends, in my experience, develop a lot faster than the sumi on that fish. Because that's coming from so deep within the skin, it takes a lot more time to actually come up and become the thick glossy sumi like we see here. Whereas this one tends to come thick and fast. All of a sudden it crops up, next thing you know there's more of a block, next thing you know it's solid. So can be quite unpredictable. It's a really fascinating sumi to watch progress. But yeah, great fish. It's going to be good fun to watch this one and actually see where it ends up. I remember it from a couple of months ago when I did the last selection on the pond. Not a lot of this sumi, that sumi and all this area was there. So yeah, winter, the next sort of 3 or 4 months are going to be fascinating to see with that fish.
So now we're going to take a look at the fish that are going to be released for sale, just in a bit more detail. If you can see what's coming up and why they've been selected for that particular reason. So now we've got a selection from the fish which I'm going to say rejected, because ultimately
in regards to me keeping them any further, they have been. But I think it's also important to note that doesn't mean that these are inferior sort of quality fish in any way. Like we said before, space is limited. It's expensive to continue raising, especially in the autumn winter time. So we've really got to see, you know, keeping those fish, a lot of value being added along the way. So I'm going to talk through a few of these just so you can see my mentality as to why they've ended up in this bowl, why they're going to be offered for sale now and not kept any longer. I think you'll see with a few, the reasons are quite simple. It's not that they're poor fish, there's just other factors to consider. So if you have a look at all these, you can see there's quite a bit of a mixed size range. We can see, you know, some bigger, really powerful fish like this koaku, and then some slightly smaller sanke like that. That is just literally down to the environment they've been grown in. When you've got something like this that's in an environment with these guys, they're naturally going to dominate feeding and make it harder for that.
Yeah, it's quite a big
smaller
size difference
fish.
there, isn't
yeah,
there?
it's tough. It's challenging. So yeah, just to talk through a few. I mean, we can see there's two really nice goshiki in this bowl, which a lot of you is probably looking at and thinking, you know, why are they not being kept any further? These fish are absolutely good enough to be kept in the pond along with the other 19 we've looked at previously. The reason I haven't kept them is very simple. I've got customers wanting goshiki desperately, so there's absolutely no point me holding on to them when customers are in need of them. So they'll be offered for sale. That is the only reason that those fish are in this bowl. The quality is superb.
So how soon will dealers be able to buy those?
These are going to be released for our autumn harvest, which is starting sort of early October. So yeah, not long. They're going to be conditioned outside now, brought down in temperature, ready for sale.
So moving out of heated ponds into...
Yeah, that's it. Water's still
cold
really
ponds.
warm in the fish house, so we're going to get them down to ambient temperature, ready for that.
Is there anything else that you'll change as they're moved out?
No, that's it. They'll come off of the growth and the colour food. They'll just be fed a more balanced diet. So again, we'll improve the skin condition. Yeah, not a lot really. So yeah, again, a couple I'd like to highlight. These two smaller sanke in particular. This one and this one here.
So what's the reasoning for those
These
two?
are two exceptional fish. The quality's there for all to be seen. You can see here with the quality of the white skin on that. Benny quality is superb, sumi emerging superb, lovely pattern, it's got everything. So too on that one, a little bit further behind, you can see lovely soft, vibrant Benny. Awesome pattern forming, sumi under the skin in some nice places. Again, the only reason those two fish are in here is that because they're that slightly bit, I think we're talking about 5 cm smaller. Yeah, about 4 or 5 cm smaller, but they've got smaller body frames as well, which tells me they're not going to compete against the fish that we've kept that are all, you know, 30 cm up to 35 cm. It's just not going to be right putting them in that same environment.
Just too much of a mix of them. They're
That's
not going
it.
to thrive
So
in that condition.
if I had a pond available where I could keep those with similar sized fish and bring them on more, I absolutely would do. At this moment in time, I haven't got that pond, so that's not something I can do. Therefore, they'll be offered for sale, but they're certainly two fish I'd expect to be snapped up.
Yeah, I'm sure the owner of those will be delighted when they
pretty
pick them up from
quickly.
the Koi
Yeah,
dealer.
that's it. Then we've got some really, you know, other things. This fish was one I actually really agonised over for a small minute. I think it's going to get really interesting when the sumi starts to come through. Going to be slightly heavier in its style, which I like to see with some Taniguchi sanke. The quality's all there. If I'm being honest, the bit that put me off a little bit just compared to the others was the style of the head pattern. What's
the head pattern that put you off it?
It's not that some of them got the more traditional sort of U colour away from the eyes a bit more. That's really just a personal preference thing. Nothing against the quality of that fish, but again, space being at a premium, I've decided to let that one go at this time. Others, we've got another goshiki. I missed that one. A lot softer in colour. Absolutely superb body frame to that. We can see the depth of the Benny ears, absolutely exceptional. Great fish. And again, it's really, really fussy. I actually would have kept this one despite customers wanting them, but the bit of colour in the tail does put me off in regards to raising it. Reason being, it won't fetch the maximum value because unfortunately that will put other buyers off, especially at the higher level. So if I raise that for another 6 months or a year, it's always going to be something that strikes as a negative against it because of how people perceive it. So it would be a waste of my time investing any more resources into that fish. However, you know, because of that, it will affect the value, and it's a fish I'd recommend anyone to get snapped up. It's brilliant.
That particular one, you can see it's got 2 different coloured eyes on it. Is that something you need to look out
that as well.
for?
You see, I don't, again, personally, I don't care for red eyes when the overriding quality of everything is exceptional. That shouldn't bother you. You see plenty of, you know, All Japan Koi Show winning fish that have got red eyes. It's because everything else is just so good. You're not even looking at that. With that fish in particular, like I say, that doesn't bother me. It's more the sort of colour in the tail, but I know the red eye again will affect its value and how it's perceived by hobbyists.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, for me to invest more time, it's not going to be an easy sell, you know, even further down the line. But again, it is going to be a great fish. So yeah, as you can see, it's not really, there's small elements that affect it, and it's all for commercial reasons, you know, 9 times out of 10 why some of these aren't being kept. But there's going to be, like I say, the 2 Gosanke and the Goshikis in here, a fish that are really good quality. They're going to be a fair price, and I expect them to get snapped up, to be honest. So that's them ones.
So I hope you enjoyed today's video. The Taniguchi Ponds one I've been really excited to get into. I'm delighted with the result. Hopefully you can see the great quality of the fish. The results from the raising this summer have been exceptional as well. Hopefully you've learned something. If you've got any questions related to anything in the video, please pop it in the comments down below, and we will get back to you with some answers. You might even roll into another video, give us some ideas on what content you'd like to see from us. I'm delighted to say that, you know, since the first video, we've had a little break. We've formed a new team, so we've got some new equipment to really make a go of this and bring you some videos on a regular basis, which I'm excited to do. I'd love for you to subscribe, so hit that button. You'll get updates whenever we've got some new content released. You'll probably see in the background lots more ponds to do. In these 2 fish houses alone, we've got 18 ponds to get through in the next few weeks. So there's going to be lots to come, lots of varieties, lots of different content. I look forward to bringing it to you. So thanks for watching, and we'll speak to you again soon.